My favorite video game character is Mega Man. Growing up on it was one of my favorite video games to play. Back then, I've only played Mega Man 2 through Mega Man 8, and I could never find a copy of the original Mega Man. About a year after Mega Man 8 came out, I went to the old video game store to pick up Super Mario World to give it to my older brother as a moving out gift, when I found an old copy of the first Mega Man game with a rather unappealing cover art torn off and leaving bits and pieces of the leftover sticker, and Mega Man 1 written on it with black marker. I've never played the original Mega Man before, so I decided to buy it. I went to the checkout to buy the two games. I asked the clerk what happened to the Mega Man game's cover, and he told me that it was sold to him like that, and that the previous owner, who was around 8, wanted to sell the game right away. I asked him if he knows why, and he told me that all the kid said was, "Yellow Devil," and that the boy had a very scarred look on his face, and wouldn't look at the clerk because all the kid could see was the red eye. The clerk then proceeded to tell me that he had gotten a newspaper that said the kid had been driven to insanity and landed into an insane asylum about a week after he sold the game, and that he's had this game for around a year or so. The kid kept hearing some noise that hurt his ears and kept seeing things like an eye that would never watch him as wherever he went. A little puzzled by the story, I thanked the clerk and left, eager to try out the game. The whole time I was driving home, I was wondering about the boy who went insane. Could it be because of this game? No, it couldn't. Besides, it is Mega Man we're talking about. How bad could it be? I went home and popped the game into my NES, and I was greeted with the title screen. I pressed start, and instantly there was a loud screeching sound coming from the game, with a picture of a red eye appearing shortly after, lasting for about a split second. I was then greeted with the stage select screen. I saw all 6 Robot Masters: Cutman, Gutsman, Iceman, Bombman, Fireman, and Electman. One thing I found odd was that the background was pitch black. The names of the Robot Masters were missing, and the Robot Masters themselves had bright red eyes. My brother, who had played this game before, told me that Cutman was the easiest boss, so I decided to follow his advice. I selected Cutman, but instead of displaying the Robot Master's name after selecting him, it said, "Leave now." The clear points display was left unaltered. I started the level, and it was just a straightforward path. No enemies, no bottomless pits, nothing. It played Cutman's theme, which sounded nice, but as Mega Man started walking to the right, the theme became more and more demonic, slowing down in tempo and lowering in pitch. At the end of the road was a boss door. I entered it, and there was Cutman. Before the fight started, Cutman said, "Mega Man, get out, or I will catch you and take you along with it." The battle started, and I fought Cutman. During the battle, giant yellow spheres started to appear on the screen. They weren't coming for Mega Man, they were aiming at Cutman. The spheres lashed and formed over Cutman, and he started screaming while the thing slowly killed him. After that, the screen went to black and showed a series of violent pictures of Cutman being suffocated, crushed, and torn apart by the yellow mass. All that was left of Cutman was his head and a couple limbs with blood all over the floor. The loud screeching noise from before showed up, and this time it lasted longer, and text showed up saying, "They will all die, and so will you. No one can escape the Yellow Devil." Yellow Devil. I started to remember what my brother said about it. Yellow Devil was said to be the hardest boss in the game, a boss that would split into multiple parts and they would ram into Mega Man, causing a large amount of damage. He told me that it was a fat yellow blob with limbs and a very creepy looking eye, an eye that was all black and had a red pupil. His description of the Yellow Devil reminded me of similar bosses found in Mega Man 3 and Mega Man 8, but he'd never told me that something like this was in the game. I assumed that it was a hacked game at that point, and found it kind of disturbing. But curiosity got the better of me, so I continued playing. I was sent back to the stage select screen to see that Dr. Wily's castle was not accessible, and that the rest of the Robot Masters were gone. I chose Wily's castle. Instead of displaying Wily's name, it just said, "You were warned, now you will pay." After that, I was immediately transported there. I later learned in the original game, Wily's name and the clear points display first disappear. Then Wily should summon his flying saucer and fly off inside of it, and then the player would be teleported to the stage. Anyway, when I entered the stage, the sky was blood red and the castle was destroyed, covered in flames and blood. Mega Man slowly walked to the remains of the castle to find Wily, Dr. Light, Roll, and the other robot masters on the floor. They all seemed to be dead, as there was blood on the floor on their lifeless bodies. I walked up to them, and the text all the characters appeared, saying, "Why didn't you save us? Turn back now. It's gonna kill you. You cannot escape. The Red Eye. The Red Eye!" And as Mega Man continued to walk forward, the yellow spheres from before came out from behind him at an incredibly fast rate, and formed a giant yellow creature with a demonic red eye. All it said was, "I am the Yellow Devil. No one can escape me." The creature was more skinny than what my brother described to me, and had long, stretchable arms and legs, and at the center was its eye, its bright red, evil-looking eye. Blood poured from it and started to drip on the floor. It was just unsettling. The screeching noise immediately came back, only this time it was louder, and lasted through the whole fight. The Yellow Devil stretched one of its arms, and threw Mega Man across the screen several times, draining my health until it was at 1 unit left, and slowly disfiguring Mega Man with every throw. I couldn't react in time because he was so quick. Soon, the Yellow Devil then split into multiple forms, and came hurling at Mega Man with such an incredibly fast pace, I couldn't have Mega Man dodge them. And with that, each part that hit Mega Man, he became slower, and couldn't jump. It got to the point where Mega Man couldn't move, and he was basically swallowed whole by the Yellow Devil. The screeching noise got even louder as the giant yellow blob spat Mega Man out, and revealed a mangled, ripped-apart, blood-drenched corpse. The screen went black, and all that was shown was the corpse of Mega Man and a red eye forming around it. The screeching noise got even louder, and more high-pitched as text appeared saying, "They are all dead. Now you're next." Then the words, "No one can escape the Yellow Devil," kept forming on the screen. The text kept getting bigger, and the screech getting louder and high-pitched. And after soon, the red eye appeared again, with the screech reaching its maximum pitch and volume, piercing through my ears and, literally, making them bleed. I quickly shut off the game, and took it out of the console. I was really creeped out by the game, and felt the urge to get rid of it by any means, even if it just meant destroying it. I got a hammer from my garage, and proceeded to violently smash the game to bits, and then throw the remaining pieces into my garbage can. I don't know what came after me. It was just a game, and from the looks of it, it was just hacked. My older brother soon came home afterwards and asked me what was up. I told him what happened and explained what I had witnessed. He didn't believe me at first, but he soon gave in, stating he had never seen me this freaked out before. He then patted me on the back and asked me if I wanted to come by his new house and hang out and where I watch some TV. I agreed and gave him the Super Mario World gift I had mentioned before, and we drove to his house. We talked about the game for a bit, believing it was hacked, that the kid who went insane probably had other mental problems and issues to deal with. We watched The Simpsons for the rest of the night, and I fell asleep after a while. I dreamt that I was walking to my house in the middle of the night. I soon went up to my driveway, when all of a sudden my stomach started to hurt. It started to get worse and worse. I was vomiting and coughing up blood in this yellow substance. I continued to this non-stop until the yellow substance formed into the Yellow Devil. I then proceeded to run, but it grabbed me and threw me to my house door, and then onto the concrete pavement. Feeling broken and in so much pain, I tried to run away, but the Yellow Devil split into multiple pieces and proceeded to violently latch onto me until I was immobilized. I couldn't move. I couldn't yell for help because my mouth was covered up by the Yellow Devil. I was helpless. It then swallowed me whole, and all I could hear was my agonizing screams and a loud screeching sound. I felt my bones being crushed and my skin being torn apart as it violently ripped off my limbs, and every time I opened my mouth to scream, nothing came out of it. I struggled to escape, but it was no use. I just waited until it suffocated me. The last thing I could hear was, "You thought you could escape me, but you were wrong. No one can escape the Yellow Devil." It kept repeating, "No one can escape the Yellow Devil," over and over, getting louder and louder, along with the screeching sound as I slowly suffocated. After that, I could see my mangled, lifeless corpse lying on the ground, with the red eye behind it, just like when I saw Mega Man die. I quickly wake up to see my brother making breakfast, and I proceeded to tell him about my dream. He tells me to calm down and told me to eat. I was calm for the rest of the day, but that night, and every night after, I had the same dream. The stream kept on getting more violent and intense, with the screech getting louder and louder, the eye appearing over and over, the corpse being torn apart, people I cared about being violently gored before my very eyes. Soon, I kept hearing the screeching sound in my head, and I became delirious. I kept on seeing the red eye whenever I went. The screeching noise kept ringing in my head, it never stopped. I couldn't think straight, I couldn't eat, I refused to sleep to avoid the dream. I just fell apart. My brother finally took me to see some help after about a week, and even after all the treatment, it didn't help. I still had the nightmares, I still heard the sounds, I still saw the red eye. After about a month and a half seeing my psychiatrist, though, I slowly became better. I had my moments here and there, but I recovered, for the most part. To think that a game had this much impact on me, to think that it drove me to near insanity. As of now, I am almost fully recovered. I have the dream much less frequently, if not ever. I still sometimes hear the screeching sound, but it's very faint. The only thing that still occurs frequently is the red eye. It doesn't bother me as much now, but I can't stand to look at it after a while, watching me. It didn't help that Capcom's recent Mega Man 9 and Mega Man 10 had their own unique versions of the Yellow Devil. You know, looking back on it, I guess what the game said was true. No one can escape the Yellow Devil. There's like a mental image of the perfect cliched creepypasta, like stuff everyone makes fun of, kind of like the hyper-realistic blood of a cursed NES game you kind of just find that's all broken apart for $1 at a store, or a garage sale, or an old man. Sometimes ends with like the main character breaking the game itself, like with a hammer. And this is one of the stories that perpetuates that stereotype. There is really just nothing you wouldn't expect here. Like, of course, everyone's bleeding and screaming and crying all the time. Like, of course they are. It's exactly what happens in a cliched creepypasta like this. It's one of like the formative pillars of, well, of course it's gonna happen. This one's a bit more obscure. I personally remember this one from Yuri of Wind all these years ago. I don't remember especially liking the story all that much, but I do quite enjoy the Yellow Devil boss fight, and Mega Man 1 is one of my favorite NES games, so it always held a special place in my heart, even if it's a really bad story. And would you believe me that this is the second draft? I have to like link to the Trollpasta wiki, because it's really hard to find this story, but this was apparently the second draft. So the author had a first draft that said, no, it needs to be better, and willingly included this. I just have so many questions. One, so the kid was driven insane, but was able to rationally sell the game, or like give the game to some random like secondary store owner. I guess he never thought to break it apart himself, but you could just break it apart. I guess the curse is over. And this kid wants to talk a big game, like, I never recovered from the Yellow Devil, man. It got me forever. And then just like 2 paragraphs later, it's like, yeah, year and a half psychology. I'm okay now. Like, okay. It kind of feels like, well, why did you say okay? It's just a very misguided story without a clear direction of what's going on. It wants you to fear the Yellow Devil, but it's just like scary nightmares. I mean, I don't know, everyone has these, and I guess it'd be scary and kind of traumatic to experience them over and over, but it's like barely touched upon. The age of the character is kind of in question. The older brother is like presumably in his 20s, moving out. How old is this kid? Is he like a teenager? Is he like 9 years old? I really don't know. Why did he decide to write all of this? I just don't understand. There's not a real consistent through line here. You kind of have to take and give with these Mega Man stories, to be honest. This one isn't very good, but I cherish it, so it's very nostalgic for me. I would like to know what everyone else thinks, though, of course. Feedback is very important on some of these long-forgotten stories. But until then, have a lovely rest of your day.